Okay, so before I read the story, I didn't get this on tape because all I was doing was writing down what they were doing, but I asked them what they know about igloos, and some of these answers were pretty funny. The one kid wrote about shaking them and they play music, and I think he was thinking about snow globes because we recently talked about that. One child said about making them out of marshmallows, and that's just because I think last year in her class they made igloos out of marshmallows, but she did know that people live in them. I see some conceptions here about thinking that they can go anywhere, which I think is interesting, but this is just a shot of what they knew before I taught them anything. The story I'm going to read to you is Building an Igloo. And there's a picture of an igloo. Does it look warm where the igloo is or cold where the igloo is?
Oh, it doesn't even have a picture.
It does have a picture. Do you see it?
But it doesn't, I meant to say there was no color on it.
Oh, you're right. Actually, all of the pictures in this book are like this. And you know how we sometimes ask if the pictures are something somebody drew or pictures that somebody took with a camera? Well, these are pictures that somebody took with a camera. This is a story about a person who actually made an igloo, and he's going to tell us how he did it. So you ready to listen? Can you show me?
Catherine?
Yes.
When there's no colors in the story, that means the books are very, very old.
It could be, but not necessarily. It takes several hours of hard work to build a good igloo. The most important thing is to find the right kind of snow, not too soft and not too hard. Tukili starts walking over the land. Only when the surface remains unbroken under his feet does he stop. With his carpenter's saw, he checks the depth and quality of the snow. On the rocky slope, like the site shown here, he has to be especially careful to find a large enough area of good snow. Once he has found it, he steps to one side of the good snow and paces off a circle. That is where he will build his igloo. Do you see him with his saw going around in a circle? Tukili outlines the blocks in the snow before he cuts them. Then with the blade of the saw, he lifts up each one. It can weigh from 18 to 27 pounds, depending on size. He lines up the block alongside the growing trench from which they were cut. When he has cut all of the blocks, it is time to start building the igloo. Do you see how he's doing that? He cuts diagonally into the blocks to start a spiral. Do you know what a spiral is? It goes like this. Kind of like curly hair. It spirals down. It starts up at the top and goes around and around and around.
Like a twisty slide.
Yes, like a twisty slide, Avery. That's a really good example. There he is. Building, building, building. I'm recording right now. Joby helps with the carrying. Before bringing a fresh block, he waits until his father has set the last one in position.
Thanks.
After setting each block, Tukili trims and cleans its surface with a long knife. Do you see him inside there? Do you see all those blocks he has to use? How many blocks do you think he had to use?
78.
78?
I think he needs to use 21.
Here are the pictures.
I think he needs to use...
Isn't this interesting?
I think he needs to use 20.
What's around him? Are there trees?
Blocks.
Are there trees?
No.
Are there trees?
No.
So he couldn't use wood to build a place to live. What does an igloo do? Why is he building this?
I don't know. Because it's Christmas.
No. He's going to live inside of this igloo. And he's building it, I'll show you later, he's building it to in such a way that it'll help keep him warm.
Are we going to do this as a project?
Hold on.
That picture?
Yes. Somebody took with a camera. The final blocks that round off the top need skillful shaping and fitting.
Is it for real?
Yes. Tukili reaches up and places the last block. the keystone of the igloo. He is locked in. Uh-oh, he's inside that igloo.
Why?
Stay down, please.
Why he have to wipe that leather?
The person who wrote the story, the author. Maybe Chukili did. I don't know. With his knife, he cuts a low doorway and crawls out.
Oh, that's a small door.
Well, he made the door small because if the cold air gets into his igloo, it'll make his igloo feel cold. So he made just a small hole so not as much air can get in, and it'll help keep him warm. After the two men fill in the cracks with the soft snow from the undercut side of the blocks, Tukili builds a chimney.
How can he get up on his igloo?
He climbs. The snow is hard enough. Remember he said he had to get snow that wasn't too soft? Then he cuts a window in the front, above the entrance. He has chosen a piece of ice from the ocean for a window. It gives much light to the inside, a strange blue-green light like that surrounding a swimmer underwater. Does he have a store where he can buy windows? So he used ice. Will the ice melt? Because it's cold where he is. Tukili decides to build a porch. It will keep the cold draft from coming inside and will give him storage space, especially for food, boots, and bulky clothing. He cuts more snow blocks after attaching the first 2 rows to both sides of the igloo's entrance. He rounds off the top of the gentle slope of a spiral. No chimney is needed for the porch, and the cracks are filled in quickly. The igloo is ready. It's all done. Now what is he going to do with the igloo?
Live.
He lives in it. Do you see houses where he lives? Do you see houses where he lives?
No. How about his bag?
I don't know. The book doesn't tell us. In the evening, it is evening. Father and son settle down inside. They look out onto the frozen ocean. Tomorrow will be a day of hunting. Do they have grocery stores where these people live?
So they have to. What do they have to eat?
They go fishing and eat fish.
Ew. Yeah.
I like fish.
Me too. Do you eat lobsters?
I do.
I don't.
Alright, here are the igloos that the kids made during the activity time. And I gave them all the same little ball of Play-Doh, and I gave them a knife, a plastic knife to use, because in the story, the man had a knife. And I found it pretty interesting that all of them cut the Play-Doh into squares or rectangles, which was like what the man did, so that was neat to see. And some of them wanted to have roofs, but they said they ran out of the Play-Doh, so they just were okay with not having any. And this one right here is one of my ESL children, the one with clear different blocks of ice and a door, and he was one of the ones who said that he ran out of Play-Doh. And this is another one of my ESL children right here, and it wasn't round, but she definitely has parts of the igloo, has a roof, and they all were talking about where their people would live in these igloos, and a lot of them thought it was funny that how small the people would have to be. This one down here actually has a guy sticking his head out of his igloo, which I thought was funny, and I think they all did a really nice job. A lot of them cut out their doors, just like the man in the story did. Alright, so this is the paper that I wrote on for after we had talked about igloos and after we had made igloos. I was curious to see what they wanted to tell me about what they knew about igloos had changed, and it definitely did change. They had more detail about how you make ice igloos, and they didn't talk so much about snow globes or other things. So this shows me that they were listening and able to retain some of the information that we talked about after just one lesson. And the girl who wrote about the people who live in igloos and they build it twisty, she was trying to explain the spiral motion that the man who made the igloo was doing. I took time out of reading the book to talk about that because I wasn't sure if they knew what spiral meant. So